Squirrel! Squirrel! Hey friends, welcome back. I am Jason. Let's discuss an amazing story of survival. And guys, before we start the story, I'd be really grateful if you go ahead and click that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you're into adventure, survival, preparedness, and all things On3, I'd be really grateful for it. Angela was driving south on Highway 1, the extremely scenic Highway 1, going towards Southern California, and she was near Big Sur. If you've never been to Big Sur, it is an absolutely amazing part of the world, and it's definitely worth visiting. It is beautiful. She's driving south, she's in the right lane, and the ocean is on her right. The vast, huge Pacific Ocean is on her right. Suddenly, in front of her, a small creature crosses in front of the road, and in an effort to avoid smacking this poor little thing, she drives off the road and off a 200-foot cliff. She tumbles and crashes and eventually plummets into the sea below. This part of the Pacific Ocean is a very unfriendly place. It is rocky, it is treacherous. There are cliffs, straight up cliffs 200 feet high that are separating civilization from the Pacific Ocean. She smacks down on this really rocky, rough beach, basically, in the water, with a cliff behind her, the vast, empty Pacific Ocean out in front of her, and she is unconscious. Fortunately for her, she only suffers minor injuries, such as a brain hemorrhage, broken ribs, broken collarbone, ruptured blood vessels in both of her eyeballs. Last but not least, my favorite is a collapsed lung. It's an absolute miracle that she survived this fall in the first place, but then she finally comes to, she wakes up, and she's knee-deep, still sitting in the driver's seat of her car, knee-deep in the Pacific Ocean. Now, very surprisingly, her driver's side window wasn't broken. So this twisted mess of a car that's now laying in the Pacific Ocean still has a driver's side window intact, but luckily she has a multi-tool, I guess perhaps in the vehicle somewhere, that she could reach, and she smashes that window and crawls out in her broken state. She crawls out that window into the knee-deep water and sort of swims/wades her way onto the beach. Now, she probably had some sort of adrenaline rush going at this time, but it still had to be tremendously painful. I mean, just broken ribs alone are super painful. Trying to crawl out a window of a car door with broken ribs, a broken collarbone. I've broken my collarbone before, and that's extremely painful. It's hard to turn your head. You can't do this. You can't do really anything. It is a very debilitating type injury, but luckily, like I said, she probably had some sort of adrenaline rush going that allowed her to push through that pain and get herself up onto the beach. Now, this beach isn't like a lot of beaches that we picture in our minds. I've been there. It is a rocky, rocky beach. It's got big rocks like this, anywhere from like egg size up to like pretty good sized boulders on this beach. And she's got no shoes on, no survival gear, probably isn't dressed appropriately, and she's in a bad spot. So she walks up and down this area of beach that she can access, searching for help, and finds nothing. She's basically walled in on two sides by cliffs. She could, yes, potentially swim around these cliffs and get to a more populated area on the beach and keep traveling up. But like I said, I've been to these beaches. I've been to this shoreline. It is pretty impassable in a lot of places, and the Pacific Ocean ain't no joke. Sometimes those waves can be pretty dang treacherous just by themselves standing on the beach. You can get wiped out in good shape. If you're in good shape and a good strong swimmer, you can still get it handed to you by the Pacific Ocean when the waves get up, and the currents can be super strong. And if you've got broken bones, a brain hemorrhage, you're not going to be in any position whatsoever to go for a swim. So she can see, in one spot, she can see the road and she can see cars passing by, but she cannot signal to them. She can't scream for them to hear her. She can flap her arms around in her broken state if she wanted to, but she cannot get the attention of any of these passing cars that go by. That's got to be an extremely frustrating situation, to know that civilization is right there. You can see it. The road is right there. There's towns and homes and thousands and millions of people to your left. But to your right is this huge, vast, empty expanse of ocean, So she started thinking outside the box. She couldn't signal for help, and she had to come up with ways to keep herself alive. She had extremely limited resources, so what she did was she used part of the hose out of the engine compartment of her vehicle to collect water off of some wet, mossy rocks. Fresh water was dripping off some mossy rocks on this cliff, and she used that hose to collect some of the water out of there and keep herself alive. 7 days went by, and she had to be in extreme amounts of pain and discomfort. She had to be cold, lonely, scared, and everything in between. And it must have been just emotionally, not only physically, but very emotionally exhausting. And she probably at this point started to feel that this was going to be it for her. She wasn't going to be able to survive this ordeal. Amazingly, miraculously, there were some guys looking for some good fishing spots that happened to see this curled up ball of a broken woman on the rocks. At first, they thought she was dead, but upon further investigation, realized that she was still alive, assured her that she was going to be okay, gave her a drink of water, and then immediately went back and informed rescue crews that where she was, and they came with rigging and ropes and was able to get her up and over this cliff and get her to the hospital where she made a full recovery. Now, I absolutely love survival stories like this because it reminds us of how much the human body can endure. Now, I'm sure Angela was not anticipating on her southern drive going back home on this beautiful scenic highway that she was not anticipating having to go through a week-long survival ordeal. And if you would have asked her before this situation occurred, if you'd have asked her if she thought she could survive something like this, she may or may not have answered yes. It's unlikely that she would have answered yes. She probably would have thought that there's no way that a human being could survive such a thing, a 200-foot fall in a week alone on a desolate, isolated beach, laying on rocks and drinking moss water. But she made it through it, and her story is very inspiring to a lot of people, and I'm glad that she was able to live through this and share her story. So guys, I'd really love to hear what you think about this story in the comments section. Let me know if you think you could survive an ordeal like this. And if you have any really good survival stories, send me a link to it so I can research it, and maybe it'll be one of the stories featured on the channel. Really grateful for each and all of the views, the thumbs up. If you haven't clicked that already, do so. Subscribe, please. I'd be really grateful for it. And share this video with someone you think might enjoy it. And until next time, guys, what's the worst that could happen? Let's just go on 3.